This is the second basket. What I have here is 4 Viseart palettes. These are from the Petite Fool line that was released in the fall, and people absolutely love these. I love them too. They're so tiny, so easy to travel with or just on the go. These were supposed to be in the other basket. Definitely keeping these, so I'll put them here. Then we have a bunch of, lo and behold, empty boxes. These are of Natasha Denona's mini eyeshadow palettes. 4 of the 5 were her minis released from last year. And I think most of them are actually sitting on the surface. We have the mini Glam and the mini Zendo. This is the mini Nude. This was not from last year. And then we have mini Retro palette, which I actually hauled just very recently. And her latest, most recent mini palette is the Mini Love. So I enjoy all of these. I think the mini palettes are such a great idea for people to get into Natasha Denona eyeshadows or get a sample of it without committing to like a full-size palette of hers. I am actually going to keep the box because I find these boxes, I don't know, I just like them, especially when they're of a color, like a color I really like this hot pink here. So I am keeping all of these. I do collect Natasha Denona eyeshadows. I don't have everything of hers, but anything that was released probably in the past 2 years, year and a half, I do have here. Most of it anyways. So you'll see them one by one. And I keep all of the eyeshadows in their original boxes as part of like the collector in me. You'll see also in here is Pat McGrath. I also keep all of Pat McGrath's original boxes, especially for her eyeshadows as well. I would say Pat McGrath, when it comes to boxes, she really has great, graphic designs, packaging. Some of it may be recycled, but it's always interesting to look at, and they're always indicative of what the palette is all about, like the inspiration behind it, the imagery Pat is trying to invoke with the palette, the color story. I think they're beautiful. I'm gonna wait actually until a little later to go over all the Pat McGrath. Let's focus on Natasha Denona because I want to show you guys side by side all of the Mothership artwork. I think it looks really pretty. So let's just put these aside here. Okay, we're on to more Natasha Denona. This is her bronze palette she released last summer. A really, really pretty palette. A lot of the shades may be repeated in the sense that you get very similar looks. It's very coppery, red, brown, bronzy. Still lovely, probably one of my favorite palettes. Keeping this, of course. And then you have her ever so popular Glam palette. The full size, or I should say the meaty, this is what she calls her meaty palettes. They are 15 pans, but the pan sizes are smaller than what would be considered, you'll see in a moment, her full size 15 pan palettes. And the mini Glam is not the same. They're not repeats, these shadows here of the, the full Glam palette is not a repeat in terms of shadows of the mini Glam. The mini Glam came out first last year, and then in the fall, so several months later, we had our, full-size Glam palette. I would say the full-size Glam palette is a very beautiful extension of the mini Glam, but they're not the same. I actually prefer the mini Glam over the full size. There are several shades along here that, they just don't show up on me very much, but everything on the mini Glam does, and I just love the look I created from this, so I do prefer the mini over the full, but this is a beautiful palette nonetheless, very popular. Then we have her full-size 15 pan palettes. This is the Trio Chrome. The three shades down here are, I guess, duochromes or triochromes, multichromes, I guess you can call them. And then everything else is matte. Really interesting concept. I think there was some, divided opinions about this palette. I enjoyed it nonetheless. Definitely keeping this. This is her latest palette, Circo Loco. Also a 15-pan full-size palette. I do prefer Circo Loco to Triochrome. I love how colorful it is, but the shades are still wearable. You can create very colorful, wearable daytime looks. I love the thought that she put behind this one. And then what is possibly my favorite Natasha Denona palette is the Lila palette. Lila is no longer listed on Natasha Denona's website, so it makes us wonder if she might be discontinuing Lila already. But Sephora still has this palette. It still seems like it's still going strong. I don't see any signs of it selling out soon. If you are interested in this palette, I do recommend getting it. And maybe some of you did get it already during their Sephora spring sale. Hopefully that's the case, but as of now, they still have it. And then I have Natasha Denona's Metropolis palette. This was released as a 5-year anniversary at the end of 2019. I think this is a very interesting, it's a grungy palette. Everything's kind of like burnt orange, like a grungy coppery gold. I haven't played around with this as much as it should warrant because you have, I think, 28 shades here. I love the concept of this. I wonder what she'll do in her 10-year anniversary. Maybe we'll get a treat sooner than that. Love to see another palette with this many shades. I will say, these here that I've tried, they start to blend into each other. I have a tendency to want to try out maybe like 2 rows of shades here when I put together a look for the first time, just to see what they're like to work with. But when you're actually using this palette to go for a look, stick with 4 shades, even 3. I think you can get still a lot out of it, especially if you're working with shades kind of in this area here. I think if you're drawn to the blue and you want to do something with that, you probably might need these 2 here, and then the blue, or this shade here, and then the blue, and maybe something deeper if you wish. I don't think it's necessary to add in like a 3rd orangey brown shade. They kind of blend into each other. And similarly, same thing around here. Maybe not as apparent as these like brown orangey shades, but they have very, very similar vibes. It's a very coherent, cohesive color story, but they kind of, seems to be quite similar, the looks you can create after a while, depending what you use. And then this should be the last Natasha Denona palette I have. This is also full-size 15-pan palette. This is the gold palette. I know some of you absolutely adore this palette, and for good reason. We have duochromes and golds that are very metallic and foil-like shiny. There are golds that are more like lid toppers, and then you just get kind of different tones, slightly different finishes. If you like gold, this is the palette. Everything else in this basket is Pat McGrath. What I have here at the very top are 4 of her 6-pan palettes, and they are now, I believe, discontinued. If they're still on the website, they're just listed as out of stock, and you can't seem to, at least online, buy it from anywhere brand new. I did manage to get these brand new. I'll show you each of them in a moment. I really debated whether I wanted to create a haul video just because you can't seem to get them anymore. I'm not sure if there is point to that. If you guys are interested, let me know. I'm happy to swatch and look at each one of these compared to maybe her existing Mothership palettes, which you can still get, and then, you know, whatever else I have of hers in my collection. So unfortunately this one came, the glue, I guess it became unhinged because of the glue. I'm sure I can glue it back myself, but this is the Mothership Subliminal Platinum Bronze. I just think it's beautiful. I mean, smoky purple mauve shades. I am so drawn to that. And then we have here, this is Mothership Sublime Bronze Ambition. And I just want to show you guys the artwork too while I'm at it. And this plastic that's on top has names printed on there. This is a nice, should be a fairly wearable palette with some nice brown shades, some bronzy shades, and I think you have, you know, some red and pink here and these two metallic shades. I think this is a very wearable palette. And then we have Mothership Subliminal Dark Star. The blues and purple and the deep mattes. I just need an occasion for this to create a look using it. And then we have Mothership Subversive. This is Metamorphosis. And these are all metallic shades, which is just perfect for me because I don't have her Decadence palette. It's a Mothership palette, full size, 10 shades, and they're all metallics, which I still don't have. Hope to add that in my collection at some point, but this will have to do for now. So we have these 6 pans, and I find the design just always interesting, always beautiful. In the back of these palettes we have just basic information like ingredients, shelf life, as well as where they are made. And speaking of her 6-pan palettes, I have another 6-pan that she released in 2019 for Lunar New Year. Absolutely love this sparkling red. It's like the perfect red for New Year's too. And this gold, like her logo, the foil gold, perfect. This is a very beautiful palette. You create the most ethereal pink gold look. And of course you can use the deep matte shade here to deepen anything you'd like, add dimension, give it more texture. But I'm just amazed at how beautiful and spring appropriate the looks I get from it. Without having tried the other 6 pans, it wouldn't be fair to say this is my favorite 6-pan palette, but this is one of my favorite eyeshadow palettes of Pat McGrath. Unfortunately, this is discontinued as well. It was available only for a limited time during and around Lunar New Year in 2020. Next, I have her quads. These two are her Blitz Astral quads. We have Nocturnal Nirvana and Ritualistic Rose. I have gone on and on about these quads. Ritualistic Rose and Nocturnal Nirvana, because of the formula, they all have this sparkly, glittery finish. And it's stunning. All the shades here are stunning. You can actually create a look with it. They don't function only as lid toppers. They're very pigmented. Love this. It's so different from anything else that I have. And then I'll show you Ritualistic Rose. This is more wearable and is actually a good complement quad to her Divine Rose 1 palette. And we have her quad that she released late last year. Yes, this is, I forget the name, Interstellar Icon. I think it's pretty. I think it's Pat McGrath quality, but it just does not grab my attention the same way that the Blitz Astral Formula Quads do. I feel like these are shades that you would find in her Mothership palette. I would rather see them in a Mothership palette rather than as a quad. That is just my preference. I think this gives people a chance to try Pat McGrath eyeshadows without committing to like a whole Mothership palette. This might be how you dip your toes in before you really take a dive. Before we open her Mothership palettes, I just want to line them up here. I think we have Mothership 3 Subversive, and then Bronze Seduction, I want to say, followed by Midnight Sun. See if these will stay on here. Okay. And then Divine Rose 1, Divine Rose 2. So those are all the Mothership palettes that I currently have. I do plan to add more to my collection in the future. We shall see how it goes. I really hope she comes out with 1 to 2 Mothership palettes this year. I've missed these. Her last Mothership palette was Divine Rose 2 from summer of last year, and it certainly seems like there's been a real slowdown in Mothership palette releases. So this is Subversive. Have not used it yet. I actually hauled it along with the other 6-pan palettes. Gorgeous. Look at this blue and this purple. Oh my gosh. And this kind of like lime green. It's gold, but kind of like has a lime green tone or mustard yellow to it. Lovely, lovely. Love to sit down and create a look with this one. I think this is going to be another one of those videos I really want to do, and it ends up being on a backlog, but love to get to this. And then we have Bronze Seduction. I think this is arguably, after Divine Rose 1, is her other most popular palette. I've used Bronze Seduction a great deal. I do love using this shade here, which is called, and by the way, all of the shadow names are printed as a card. And this card is not attached to the box. You can actually take it out. So that red shade is called Blitz Flame. And I think true to the Blitz formula, it also has a very glittery finish. I love the shade. And this duochrome here, perfect lid topper, gives you that kind of 3D look. Like that red. Beautiful. Then we have Midnight Sun, and Midnight Sun is what I would call an underrated palette. Several of you have told me you have Midnight Sun and absolutely love it, or you decided to get Midnight Sun after watching my review video. I am so honored I was able to influence your decision, and in a very positive way. Midnight Sun, when you look at it next to, you know, especially Bronze Seduction, it might not be obvious what you can do with it, but there's just so much you can do. You can create bronzy looks and just focus on, you know, these shades here. You can add a bit of like green to your bronzy look, or you can do a green and a red look. And then you can play with any of these 4 special shades to really put a twist to the look. This shade here, this orange, you would not think orange and green and red might go together, or orange on top of your browns would do anything for you, but because it's the look you can get is different and unassuming, always is interesting. The shades are easy to work with. I find the, you know, the 3 mattes that comes in this palette. Just really easy. You can use it as a base shade, you can use it to deepen any other shade, or just use it on your outer corner, and then use any of these really, either as a lid topper or transition or a pop of color. Yes, I have many good things to say about Midnight Sun. All the Mothership palettes, by the way, are made in Italy. So the 6 pans are made in the States. Actually, let's see if this 6 pan is made in the States. Yes, this 6 pan is also made in the States, but all the Motherships are made in Italy. Then we have Divine Rose 1. This is it. She is the one who launched the subsequent Divine Rose collections. This was released exclusively in the UK in 2019. Immediately sold out and just made everybody write to pad and just scream at the top of their lungs that they want this palette back because it was so limited. And if you look at all the shades here, they're very wearable. A lot of mauves, purple, like all the shades are a little bit more subdued. There's like subdued versions of what you might find on the other Mothership palettes. So people were just extremely drawn to it. And I think this shade here is arguably perhaps my favorite Pat McGrath shade. This is VR Rose Venus. And this is a shade I can put all over my lid, and that would be a look. It wouldn't be a mood, it'd just be a look, because somehow it's still very wearable. And that's probably why it's my favorite shade. After Divine Rose 1, she released Divine Rose 2 Summertime, and that was really exciting too. Highly anticipated, so much anticipation for this. Along with the release was also the chance to get a limited edition chrome packaging. As you can see here, it's not the lacquered black packaging we normally see. And I had high hopes. I wasn't sure if I would enjoy Divine Rose 2, this one here, more than 1. But she can definitely stand on her own feet, on her own 10 shadows. This shade here is it shifts to 3 different shades. Might be hard to show you guys at this angle. I'll just swatch it. You can kind of see. It goes from green, gold to pink. It's fascinating. This is a shade I would also put all over my lid as well. There are some shades in here you can also use on your cheeks. Like this shade, I mean this is very pink, but this shade here I can use on my cheeks. You can take this and use it as a highlighter. It has like kind of like a pinky white shift to it. It's really pretty. So yeah, Divine Rose 2 I think was also a major success for her. Which is probably why we're still seeing in 2021 Divine Rose collection. I really have high hopes for this, new Divine Rose item. I hope it's blushes and that, maybe after this it will conclude the Divine Rose collection, but we'll have to wait and see. This was released as part of her 2020 holiday collection. This is a Mothership Mega palette called Celestial Divinity. I thought the idea around it or behind it is pretty cool. The packaging noticeably is different. It's not lacquered, but you get a lot more shades. There are no special shades in here, and I think that was perhaps a little bit disappointing to some people. What we have are actually several repeat shades. The 6 shades here and the shades here are from her Star Wars Limited collection release back in 2019, around Christmas time, and that immediately sold out. So the shades were made available once again last year in this kind of mega palette. Shades down the center are new shades, and I really enjoy this palette. I think because it's interesting how this was not released as a 6 pan with these, 6 shades here, but rather as like a mega. The thing I do like about it is it gives me a chance to try out those Star Wars limited edition shades that were not made available soon. They were not brought back at all after it was sold out during the initial launch. So I do like that. This palette with this many shades was priced very reasonably, accessibly. And I think with the, non-lacquered packaging helps with that too, because packaging is very expensive. So I like those two, points about it. As a Pat McGrath collector and eyeshadow enthusiast, I wish we got different packaging or, slightly more luxurious treatment to how this was presented. That would be, truthfully the fangirl in me talking. But I still do enjoy the shadows in here. Every time I pick it up to create a look, I feel like, hey, this is really solid. It's great value, the quality is there, and I like the looks that I create. They're more on the purple, deeper purple, pinky, fuchsia side, and that's just fine. I think even though you have 2 6-pan palettes and another 6 new shades down the middle, combined you can still create pretty cohesive looks. This palette is made in the States with ingredients from the States and imported ingredients as well. Let's put everything back into the basket. So I did end up decluttering a few palettes and mostly packaging boxes from the 2 baskets. And I noticed today when I looked at it again that the Suku Eyeshadow Quads, they actually have the names of the quads printed. And this is actually going to be really helpful when I need to get the quads out to do any testing, swatches. Same thing with the Disco palette from Byredo. And now I'm kind of hesitant to actually declutter them. Same thing with the holiday collection, although I only have one Suku palette that's this size for eyeshadows. Might not be that hard to tell. So I'm going to keep these because there's a true functional purpose to them. I'm going to keep these. The Makeup by Mario boxes also has the name printed, but it's rather small. And I think, since I only have 2 of his eyeshadow palettes, I think I'll be able to make do without it. So this one I will actually keep it as decluttered. With the 2 baskets done, I definitely feel a sense of accomplishment. I can now put these back in their drawers and organize them as I do that. Moving on next is going to be a declutter of my lipstick collection. I think I'll do much better there than with my eyeshadows because I have a lot of older lipsticks that I don't even wear anymore. They're just there because I can look at them or maybe swatch them. That's really about it. So that will be a different video. Thank you guys for watching. I will see you in the next one. Hope you enjoyed this video. Take care. Bye.